Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. I will tell you ahead of time, the weather is terrible here. We've had internet troubles on multiple levels. Mark Porter is on the road trying to check in, and he's having issues. Of course, the Dean's in good shape and ready to come on, but if there is any interruption here for cloud-like issues, I apologize. But first, you know what we got to do. Hey there, beach babes. Are you ready to soak up those summer vibes and unveil your ultimate beach bod? Well, you're in luck because our friends over at Manscaped have you covered from head to toe. 5.0 Ultra, the ultimate all-in-one grooming kit, is set to have you looking and feeling your best in the summer sun. Trust Manscaped and unlock the confidence you need to turn heads this season. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped.com for 20% off, plus free shipping with the code BUCKNUTS. Let's make this summer your smoothest one yet. Our Magic Mac disposable shaving mask got your back and front and everything else that needs grooming. It's like having a magician in your bathroom. Surprise! Your purchase comes with free Boxers 2.0 Midnight Bravo, comfort and style that fit like a dream. Don't forget, get 20% off and free shipping with the code BUCKNUTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code BUCKNUTS at manscaped.com. The summer sun is here to stay. The summer sun, is here to stay. So trust Manscaped to keep your ruler at bay. All righty. William is here. The great Bill Kurlick, the Dean, is here. Mark Porter is on the road, as we said this morning. When we actually drill down and let you know to the amount of high schools he's been to, it's staggering, but he'll have a report on the entire state. Bill, here's what people want to hear about. Crystal balls. You rolled a crystal ball last evening for Isaiah West. Am I wrong on the name there? It's a pretty basic name.
Isaiah West, and it was early Monday evening, and Isaiah had told me earlier in the day that he had scheduled an official visit. Monday morning, he let me know he had scheduled an official visit to Ohio State for the weekend of June 14th, and he said that at that point he was in school. He said, I'll give you a call 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, right in there Monday evening. And lo and behold, he did exactly what he said. He gave me a call, and we were talking, and he told me about his visit, which I have a detailed story on our site right now about his visit to Ohio State this past weekend. It was, of course, an unofficial visit with his parents. Was here in Columbus Friday through Sunday, and he told me all about the visit. And then he said that he had actually just reopened his recruitment, because I had asked him. I said, I'm sure you let Kentucky know you were going to visit Ohio State. He said, yeah. And he said, in fact, he has decided to reopen his recruitment. He said he's down to 2 schools, those being Kentucky and Ohio State. He has official visits set to both. But when was the last time someone decommitted from a school and then recommitted? I won't say never, because I don't like to say that in recruiting, but it's pretty close to never. So I did roll the crystal ball for Ohio State. That was early. That was before I picked the crystal ball up, actually, before Isaiah had actually announced that he had reopened his recruitment. He did that a little bit after my crystal ball pick. And he is planning to make an official visit to Ohio State June 14th to 16th.
Sue Zabo comes in with the Bryson Rogers call on who has decommitted and recommitted. That's one of the few ones I can think of in football. It happens all the time in basketball now, and that's how you know that's so goofy. Bill, they returned to a spot they have had great success at, St. Joe's Prep, the Prep they call it in the Philly area. I think people may remember certain alumni from there. One, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyle McCord. But guess who else attended St. Joe's Prep? That kind of surprised me. Football-wise, you got your Rich Gannons, Kevin Stefanski, DeAndre Swift, but Jim Knowles also attended St. Joe's Prep. So we've got a real hook there, Bill. everyone wants to know this. Let's do it like this. Isaiah West, what kind of running back is he? Height, weight, speed, style. And then the low-hanging fruit and the question everybody wants to know. Yes, Carlos Lachlan has offered many a running back, and we have discussed that. But Jordan Davison and Bo Jackson have been crystal balled by yourself. Now you've got 3 crystal balls, and the question is, are there 3 spots at the end? So first, Isaiah West, the player, and then the recruiting situation he's created here as your crystal ball rolls towards the capital city of Ohio.
Well, Isaiah is 5'11", about 205 pounds. If you watch his film, very fast. He's being recruited as a running back, but I think he could even move out to the slot. But he is being recruited as a running back, and he's good. I talked to someone kind of familiar with Kentucky recruiting last night, and he said absolutely Kentucky wants to keep him in the class and has wanted to keep him in the class, and they would love to have a class of 2025 running backs of Marquise Davis and Isaiah West. I don't think that's going to happen anymore, but they would love if that were to happen. And for a while, they had commitments from both until Isaiah reopened his recruitment up last night. He rushed for about 900 yards during his junior season at St. Joe. Not a prolific total, but you have to understand that St. Joe will, they have some great players there. They've had some good quarterbacks. They like to throw the ball when they have someone like a Kyle McCord. So that's nothing to worry about that he had 900 yards and rather than say 1,500 or 2,000. He is a very good running back. And interestingly enough, when I was talking to Isaiah last night, he did not put out his Ohio State scholarship offer when he first got it. He actually has been offered by Ohio State or had been offered a scholarship by Ohio State since April. That offer did not come this past weekend. Ohio State offered him a scholarship in April. He just didn't put it out there for the world to see, so to speak. So it's not a situation of, well, they're not getting Bo Jackson or they're not getting Jordan Davidson, so they have offered a scholarship to Isaiah West. That's not the situation at all. They offered him a scholarship back in April, and there is room in the end, so to speak, for all 3 if all 3 want to be Buckeyes. If things go as expected, Ohio State has a spectacular year. They win the national championship. Travion Henderson has a great year. Quinshon Judkins has a great year. If everything goes as expected, and it is expected that Henderson is going to go to the NFL after this year, and Judkins too for that matter, that leaves him with 2 scholarship running backs on the roster for next season. That is not enough. The usual number is 5 or 6. So they can take 3 running backs in this class.
That's going to be the main topic of discussion. We also know that Carlos Lachlan has offered a bunch of dudes. So you're comfortable now thinking these are the 3 guys it's going to be?
Yeah, they've got Jeff Overton out there that they offered early. They've got Shakai Mills Knight that they offered, Byron Lewis, Jir Hill has committed elsewhere. Anthony Rogers, the Alabama commitment. So they've got a bunch of offers out there, but there's no doubt in my mind right now these are the most likely 3, or if one of them were to decide to go elsewhere, then the most likely 2. I think these are the 3 guys that are most likely, any of the 3, to pick Ohio State at this point.
All right, but we promised this yesterday. Dave and I did not do a ton on recruiting because we knew you'd be here today. Let's wrap up the weekend. Who visited? Sometimes I feel like we're getting a surprise visitor almost every weekend now. A guy's just showing up. Give me an idea of what you saw from the weekend, anything we really need to remember. And hold a sec. This is what I wanted to ask. As Hollywood Hagar says, what's up with the latest offensive line target? What's up with the latest O-line targets? Boateng and the kid from Cali. I assume they mean our guy from Carmel. Take it away.
Yeah, it was it was a big weekend for Ohio State, another big weekend, and they did very well, in my opinion. Isaiah West was here this past weekend. I think he is going to be a Buckeye, or I wouldn't have crystal balled him to Ohio State. Andrew Stargell, the offensive lineman from Georgia, was here this weekend, and I really think that if they go all in and go all out for him, that there's a really good chance he will be a Buckeye. He's looking basically at three schools now: Ohio State, UCF, and Kentucky. Nathaniel Owasu Botang. He is the brother of the Browns, Owasu Koromoa. Be kind of nice to have two Owasus in the state of Ohio, because Owasu Koromoa is blowing up as one of the top linebackers in the NFL, and Nathaniel Owasu Botang is one of the top linebackers in the country. He will make an official visit to Ohio State. His visit went extremely well. Jackson Lloyd, whoever posted that, mentioned the offensive lineman from California. He was here this past weekend, and he hasn't said 100% for sure that he will make an official visit to Ohio State. It's not locked in stone, but he said that is his plan, and I think that plan will get done. So he will be back for an official visit. Henry, another offensive lineman, Henry Fanuku from Texas, visited Ohio State this past weekend. It went very well. I think that Ohio State and Georgia are the two likely schools for him right now. And our buddies at 247 Sports Texas A&M went and saw Henry Fanuku at his practice in person yesterday and got an in-person interview with him and all. And kind of the value of being with 247 Sports and having the great people around the country working with you. You get, right after he makes an official or unofficial visit to Ohio State, we have someone go out to his practice and do a personal interview with him. So that was really good. Anthony Vineri, that's kind of a name that nobody was talking about, but I think that's a key pickup. He is a preferred walk-on guy. Was the University of Buffalo's punter the last 2 seasons and did well there, averaged 44 yards a punt, had punts of 50, 60 yards. He is an experienced guy. Nick McClarty is coming into Ohio State as their 2024 guy in that class, and they have high hopes for him, a lot of potential, but he is from Australia and he is not punted in an American football game. So bringing in Anthony Vineri, an experienced college punter, I think that's important. Now you've got a guy that you can hang your hat on if for some reason something doesn't work out with Nick McClarty. And then the other visitor was Jaden Magnum. He's the one guy from the group this past weekend that I don't expect to see at Ohio State. He started an official visit to Nebraska last night. He will visit Michigan, and I would be surprised if Jaden Magnum, the Michigan State transfer portal guy, were to end up at Ohio State.
Yes, Rod Moore, the Northmont grad and fine Ohioan at Michigan safety, going to miss this season with a knee injury, so it's expected that Magnum will probably fill that spot. This just in, we're good at safety, Bill. I don't know if you know this. We picked up a safety in the offseason. He went to Alabama. He was good. I'll tell you what else is good, Bill, and I'm going to bring in the Grand Poobah here in a sec, but
all right.
These are sharp. These are sharp. These are called Call Me Tarmac Daddy, meaning you're getting on a private plane with Mr. Bucknuts. I have already tried to get on Bucknuts 1 to Eugene. We'll see if I make the cut. If so, there will be some fun there. But Gooder is our second advertiser today. These are stylish sunglasses starting at only $25 a pair. If you are going out and you're one of those guys who buys expensive sunglasses and never comes home with them, if you go to a concert, party, etc., these are for you. No slip, no bounce, and I'm telling you, for $25, they're very durable, polarized. If you look, they've got like 50,000 5-star reviews, a 1-year warranty, 30-day free returns. You've got the Vanguard Visionary, the New Wave Renegade, the Born to be Envied, the Pop-Out Prodigy, the Mod 1 Out. So they are fun. They're affordable. I never worry about losing or breaking them. Great for running, Bill. Look at this guy still running. There are times I call Bill during the day, heavy breathing because he's running. That's why he's still. Also, if you go out to eat with Bill and you get a burger Curlick style, that's burger and bun, nada, nothing else. I learned that for myself. I will not be ordering many in that form. If you want support and if you want to support the show and try a pair, excuse me, good Lord, Gooder is having a Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners free shipping account. You can go to gooder.com. That's GOODR.com/Bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for free shipping. You get a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Don't forget Bucknuts for free shipping. And we bring in the grand poobah himself. He had to find a proper ventricle for the internet access. Mark, where are you today? Where in the world is Mark Porter?
I thought very highly of Avon Lake until I realized it was like a digital black hole and you couldn't get a signal. But we found one in Avon this morning, first thing in Avon Lake. I got to see Maxwell Riley work out. He actually had Dale Roddick from T3 Performance working him out. That we're going to have a video from the T3 Performance offensive defensive lineman camp where I found some gems there. But I tell you what, Maxwell looks good, probably pushing 6'3.5", 6'4". Looked very good with his feet. I talked to Dale Roddick after about him a little bit, and he said, you know, how nice it is to work with this caliber of a player. You know, he's used to training guys from the ground up. Matt Stewie is also a receiver there, defensive back. He put on a really good show. He's long, probably 6'3", runs really well, so he's probably the second best prospect at Avon Lake. And then over at Avon, there may be 8 or 10 names to mention as far as college-worthy prospects. But Jacob Witherspoon, a defensive back, was the top prospect, and he didn't work out. He had a foot issue, but he had a Michigan offer as a sophomore, and he's collected some other big offers along the way, so he was one of their top guys. They had some tight ends and offensive linemen. Quarterback Nolan Good has a Kent State offer. So I've seen plenty of great prospects this morning, but Maxwell Riley was certainly the best.
Bill, Maxwell Riley, I believe he's the highest rated player in the state, or close to it for 2026. Offensive lineman, we talked about this yesterday briefly, Dave and I, in that Ohio State's getting hooked in the class of 2026 with in-state prospects. When you talk about Riley, Sam Greer, and our guy Will Conroy, and that usually tends to help Ohio State out. See Carter Lowe, Paris Johnson, etc. Where do they stand with Maxwell Riley? And then, Mark, if you could let me know what position you think he's going to be, because I'm starting to think guard. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I crystal balled Max Riley to Ohio State early. I still have my pick on him, and I still like where Ohio State stands. Now, he is going through the process. He's visiting schools, and I think that he will continue to evaluate and look at schools. I just think when the carousel stops, that he is likely to pick Ohio State.
Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was told this morning he had an Alabama offer, so he has plenty of places that are worthy of visits if he does do that. But he has the size of an interior guard. He doesn't have that length, the 6'7" length, or that wide body, 747. He has the feet of an offensive tackle, but I think at the end of the day, it might be guard. You know, I think when we saw him offered freshman year, you thought, oh boy, this kid's going to grow, but he hasn't grown long. He's just thickened up, and he looks like a man now. He's, starting with the shoulders and chest, and he's holding his weight really well. But yeah, his feet look good. But I think that the guard talk is, worthy.
Where else do you have to go today, Mark? And maybe what you've seen in the last, since we've seen you, that the people need to know about. Of course, and I've told everyone this, there's going to be a video onslaught at some point once Mark gets out of rehab and does like the he's got to sleep in a deprivated chamber for a while to recover. But after that, you will see Ohio on tour. From an Ohio State perspective, who's jumped out to you?
Yeah, last night when we were in Toledo and, I saw Mason Heinz, a quarterback at Oregon Clay. He was the best prospect of the night, and he's headed to Pitt. Toledo St. Francis de Sales had some young players, but not Ohio State worthy. My next stop is hopefully Findlay High School. And Ryan Montgomery will be there, of course, working out for Georgia. They have a couple offensive linemen that I need to look at and an athlete. But as I get it later in the day, I get to see Carter Lowe at Whitmer, and I get to go see Toledo Central Catholic and Singleton, the defensive back. So I have some big-time players on the list. Last week, as I'm going back to my brain, there were a couple guys, and there was an offensive lineman camp where we're going to the T3 offensive lineman camp in Avon. An offensive lineman, it's a freshman from St. Clairsville and a freshman from St. Edwards, all T's, but there's some big-time players where I'm really peeking ahead of the curve. I think last week we told you, coming out of St. X, hey, Jacob Clapper is a kid that could be offered, and lo and behold, we saw that happen later in the week. So this is the ground floor of a lot of these early offers coming in. Like we talked about the wide receiver Wayne, probably ad nauseum by now. I think every time I've been on the podcast, I've talked about him. The tight ends last week were the big hit. We looked at the tight end at Westerville South, Kielemeyer, and the tight end at St. Xavier. I mean, there were tight ends at Huber Heights Wayne. So we've really got a nice video coming for you guys with some big-time players.
I want to stop and talk about this guy for a little bit here because we take great pride here, at least I do, in drafting off these two, knowing about guys before anyone else. Excuse me, Tavion St. Clair will be the templated standard for that, as these dudes were on him well before the national media, and you're talking about a guy that could very well end up being the #1 overall player in the country. Jimmie Brown, or Jameer Averett Brown, as the Dayton Daily News called him, is a freshman in high school and is the fastest person in the state. I want that to soak through your brain for a second and understand that. This is not, no offense to my guy Keenholz, this is not South Dakota, okay? This is a big state with major cities and real people. To be the fastest person in the state in the 100 and 200 as a freshman is Olympic team stuff, is 4x100 stuff. I'm telling you. This is not normal. This is special. So he's not the biggest dude. And Mark even told you, though, when he got the ball, wearing Michael Jordan's number, I might add, channeling God in himself. I'd have to go back and research this, but I'll bet you if you ran the fastest 100 in the state as a freshman in high school, you are a known commodity in this state. I don't know who's done it. It's that outlandish. Have you heard any more about this guy, Bill? This guy has to be at top of the board. And I'm almost considering calling Andrew Ivins down in Florida, our head of recruiting, to say, look, get ahead of the curve on this one. Am I overdoing it, Bill?
I don't think so, and I think Mark would agree.
Like the latest. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the latest I heard on him, and maybe this was more of the joke, is Ohio State should have offered him that day, but the Brian Hartline rule is he wants to see him in person, and I don't think he's actually seen him in person. But the joke was, we could be his eyes and ears. He doesn't need to see him. It's a safe offer. So I think he's an Ohio State offer. I think it happens this summer when he goes to camp or when Hartline gets in there. But I think it's funny, like when you're going to be the guy that has him in your position room, I think you want to do all your homework on him first and be thorough. But it's a shame this kid has to wait a little bit for this to happen because he is that good. And we'll go in depth to his workout because I got a lot of great clips on him.
And just to kind of cherry on the sundae, if there was any, and I'm using Tavion as the example here, the only concern about Tavion from anyone was the fact that he played at Bell Fountain, which is a little bit of a smaller school. Dude, Wayne can trade punches with anybody in the state from a talent perspective. When Wayne's good, they can win the Division I state title and have done so in football and basketball. I can tell you go ahead.
I actually stood with the college coach last night, and we were talking about Wayne because he's recruiting a couple players there. And I said, hey, I was there the night that tight end got hurt because we were talking about Kamari Murray. He goes, I was there that night also. And I go, do you know who else went crazy that night? And he goes, yeah, Jimmie Brown. And he goes, we're not even going to offer him because we have no chance. You know, and he's literally saying that about a freshman that's played, you know, a handful of games, but I'm not even going to waste my time, you know, putting in the effort of loving him up and trying to get in on this. It just isn't going to happen. He's an Ohio State national recruit.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I would tell him, you don't even have to play football. What?
Yeah.
I'm serious. I would go and say, look, dude, you don't have to play football at Wayne.
Just get early enroll. Get ready to early enroll.
Run track, get your body all nutritioned up. Don't take any hits. What's he going to prove in the next 4 years to us? He's not going to be on the
record book stuff.
Yeah, man. I'd rather have my investment be pristine. He is not going to be on the field with anyone his caliber for his entire high school career.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
I mean, you realize what you're suggesting, right?
Yes. You wouldn't do that?
I mean, yeah, it's like we could, like, that age is coming where kids are just going to say, after my freshman year, I'll see you guys junior year when I early enroll. That's a new age.
It's not. Listen, I don't suggest everybody approach it in this fashion. But when you are the outlier of the outlier in what we have described as an NIL leverage money world, if this was the pros, they wouldn't be playing them. If you didn't get any credit for playing them the next 4 years, they wouldn't play them. They'd be training them. I know that sounds crazy and it's like an affront to your personal character because you're a football guy, but let's talk business.
I just wanted you to admit it sounded crazy, and that's all you needed to do. But what you said is the world of NIL, where this kid has hundreds of thousands of dollars on his health all of a sudden. And it hasn't been that. It was always a scholarship on your health. And if you got hurt, they would honor the scholarship because you'd be back within a year. There is no an Achilles or an ACL now is just a year away and maybe a little rehab. So, but there wasn't, like you're saying, life-changing cash on the line the way it is for NFL guys, and the way it's like they're foregoing bowl games. They're not foregoing their senior years. You're asking a kid to forego 3 years of high school football. I get your point, and you admit it's a little crazy, but your point is well taken. You may see kids at a certain point say, "Hey, the money's there, and hey guys, it's been great to play in high school," but like setting the single season record for yards in a season at Wayne or catches just doesn't match the 300,000 or the 800,000 I'm getting. So may not be crazy. You may be ahead of the curve.
I'm talking about the elite of the elite of the elite. I'm trying to get across to people how rare it is to be the fastest person in the state of Ohio as a freshman. Wow. He's a freshman, people. Think about to yourself, people that are freshmen. They're playing video games right now or sleeping, 100% chance, or they're at school. This guy, also track, I have a special place. Track actually, to me, is one of the sports where mentally you can really, it's just you. And the guys who are real technicians like Brown is, there's a cerebral aspect to it that I love. I get it. That's crazy. And I'm not expecting that to happen. I wouldn't suggest it. I'm just trying to get across anecdotally how fast this dude is. And that, this is Tyreek Hill speed. I'm not kidding. And I would not say
that game I saw, the starting receiver got hurt, so he got forced into kickoff return duty. He took it to the house. I mean, as a freshman, and you're looking down at the program like, they got this kid misnumbered or mismarked, but you don't just do that your first kickoff return ever in high school. And I don't know if it was his first, but I think it was second or third game of the season, and bam, like that speed shows up on tape.
And he's into it. If you hear his interview after the
and Dan, you mentioned he was a little small. He's not small. He might be 6'1". Yeah, he's got some length to him. He's not a 5'6". Yeah, he's got some meat to him. So he's he fits the Brian Hartline package of the Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. He really looks like that type of guy. So this is going to be a marriage made in heaven when it happens.
He doesn't even need to catch the ball. Just pitch it to him or get him on a reverse or something. Speed kills, man. And the league is set up, the NFL, to credit speed right now. And you just can't have enough of it. All right. We went deep on that. I had no intention of doing that.
Safe to say your man Crush is firmly entrenched, and you will be at a Wayne game. Yeah.
I will be going to several Wayne games this year and using my press pass to stand on the sidelines and just see if I can get his number and we can hang out and be friends. Not true. Bill, question on there about Jakeem Stewart. If you want to get me into another man crush, let's get going on this. Jakeem Stewart, the second coming of Chris Jones. Jakeem Stewart we did his highlights on here at one point. He's a man-child, Bill. Can you bring us up to speed on who he is for those who forget? And is Ohio State really in the mix for him? And there's been some talk of him reclassifying.
Yeah, he is as good a defensive lineman is out there, in my opinion. I mean, like you said, Dan, we had the film on him. Mark had that on here and all, and he's unbelievable. He is a beast, and I mean that in a very positive way. Mm-hmm. The rumors have been out there that he may reclassify. He hasn't yet, but I would not be shocked if it happened. I mean, the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's definitely smoke that could happen. So we'll see. And Ohio State is definitely a potential landing spot for him, no doubt. He loved his visit here. I talked to him quite a bit after that visit, and at that time, he said it was the best visit he had been on.
I just suggest everyone go look at the tape and also do a Google search on his name and just look at the still pictures. It looks like they invited an NFL defensive tackle, the big kind, like Calais Campbell, out to work out with everyone. Go ahead.
You just said it. I was trying to think of an NFL comparison, and I'm like Richard Seymour, Calais Campbell, and we shared a brain that just Buckner from the Colts, like that 6'6" guy that doesn't look like he could possibly be 6'6" because he's still chiseled and he gets off the ball. Yeah, there's very few of those guys, and those guys have careers that don't end. Those guys are, yeah, they can keep long guys off them with the long arms. And this is like the baby version with the little puppy with the big paws. I mean, he looks like, boy, a couple of years in the weight room, you might not even recognize him. But yeah, high value player.
Like Lonzo Spellman.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a great one. If you want to comp OSU style.
Yeah, Bill, great one.
I've told this story before. In an NFL locker room after a game, it's very hard to get a one-on-one interview with someone just because it's like a scrum. The way that the Washington Redskins old locker room, this is what they were at the time, was set up, that if you were talking to a guy next to the corner, the guy in the corner, if you could wedge yourself in there, you get a little one-on-one with him, right? So I learned that, and I did it with Alonzo Spellman, and he was wearing just his pants. He hadn't showered yet. He was wearing just his, football pants, no shirt, and he had his beard, and I was interviewing him, and I remember thinking to myself, he could kill me and eat me right now as the scrum was going on, and no one would even notice.
Oh, my God.
He is, and I'm talking, when you go into an NFL locker room, dude, just from a physical perspective, everyone should do it once or twice because you realize you are on the earth with people that are not like you in a big time way, dude. I'm not kidding. He stands out among the group of just monsters. And everything he said to me was this: we have a bunch of Saints on this team, and I think we're going to be fine. What do you think about the defense? We have a bunch of Saints on this team, and everything's going to be fine. And I'm like, both teams played hard. Anyway, impressive.
That's a great comparison, and it's a lofty one for this kid. And I think the comparisons are going to be lofty.
He looks like Chris Jones did. And I don't know if you guys remember this. Chris Jones, when 24/7 was first kind of getting up and running, 24/7 made him the number one player, Bill. Do you remember that? And people were like, Chris Jones, who is he? He was going to Mississippi State, and everyone I would say Chris Jones' accountant has
the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense. Yeah, the Chiefs defensive tackle, for people who don't know who Chris Jones is. Yeah, one of the highest paid guys in the league. If
he's not the highest, I think he just re-upped.
Yeah, that changes daily. I just saw Jared Goff's one of the top paid quarterbacks in the league. So there you go, second highest paid quarterback in the league.
Guess who the highest paid defensive back in the history of football is?
Antoine Winfield
Jr. Good work. Pretty good idea for Ohio State not to offer him. Yikes. That's not going to look good on the all-time list. How could you not offer Antoine Winfield Jr., by the way? Have you ever met anybody who doesn't love Antoine Winfield? If you ask someone from that era who their favorite Buckeye is, 7 times out of 10, they're like, I really loved Antoine Winfield. Antoine Winfield had cement in his pads. No one hit harder at 5'10" than Antoine Winfield. Man, we are just digressing like a mug today. All right, Vernell Brown, Bill. I'm hearing rumblings that Vernell Brown could be committing today. How do you feel about that?
I don't expect a commitment announcement tonight. It would be my vibe on that. But I think that Ohio State is very much in the running for Vernell still. Absolutely. I have a crystal ball to him to Ohio State. He and Jimmie Frrench got a lot of early crystal ball picks for Ohio State, and they very well both could end up at Ohio State. But my fear a little bit with both of them was that let's go through the process and let's not jump the gun here. I'm not totally sure sold or whatever on them being Buckeyes. I think they both still very, very well could be. I'm just not sold enough to crystal ball them to Ohio State at this point.
Hollywood Haggard, just to get back to Alonzo Spellman. Alonzo Spellman would have been a great guy to cast as the Predator in those Arnold Schwarzenegger movies if you could put the makeup on him and stuff. That's what he looked like. Good Lord. All right, let's see if there's any more questions on there. Oh, there's a lot of questions about Chris Henry Jr. I guess there's a little bit of angst growing, Bill, with his California locale. Are you feeling the same angst? I have to admit, when it comes to Brian Hartline, once they verbally commit to him, after going through the Jeremiah Smith thing, if it was ever in Hartline we trust, I literally don't even think about it anymore. Your thoughts on Chris Henry?
He remains committed to Ohio State, and until something changes in my mind concretely different, I still like Ohio State there. Now, he's only a 2026 guy, so we've got a lot of process yet to go on him. But as of now, I still like the Buckeyes in that one.
Brass tacks and I feeling the same way. As long as we have Brian Hartline, I sleep better than Rip Van Winkle when it comes to wide receiver recruiting. As well, you should. Look at Matt Reynolds. Look at this. My dad was 6'6" and 320 at 18 and turned down college football because I already had two boys. I wasn't around for another year and a half. In school, it was a different time. Let me just tell you something. If your dad was 6'6" and 320 at 18 and had two boys, and he was good, NIL would get you a nice double wide stroller, brother. And you'd be on campus in an apartment and protecting someone's blind side. All right.
Dan, one thing we haven't talked about yet. We talked about the offensive linemen early and how those offensive linemen visited Ohio State this past weekend. Justin Fry and the staff are creating more and more options as we go. They offered a scholarship to Mario Nash yesterday. He's a 6'4", 270-pounder from DeKalb, Kemper County, Mississippi. And they had already offered a scholarship to his 2026 teammate, Demarius Yates, a running back. And Carlos Lachlan went ahead and also extended an offer. He had already offered Yates, but he also extended an offer then to the 2025 offensive line, Mario Nash. And those two are going to be visiting Ohio State later this month. So, Ohio State is very serious about adding some offensive linemen to Carter Lowe here.
And Matt Reynolds' dad probably needed to keep the cardio going. He went past the left tackle size. All right. Last question. And Bill, it comes from who else? McAnna. What is up with Jimmie Frrench? This has been bandied about by many. Your thoughts?
Well, again, I wasn't on board with jumping on all those early crystal balls of French to Ohio State. And that is not to say I don't think he's going to end up at Ohio State. It's just that I don't feel good enough yet to crystal ball to him to Ohio State. He is still being recruited. I still think he's got those official visits set for June. I still think he's going to make an official visit to Ohio State during the season and then make his decision. And I still think he very well could end up at Ohio State. I just don't feel confident enough at this point to crystal ball to Ohio State. And again, my philosophy is different. I don't like to change those picks a lot. I don't go with who's the leader pick. I like to make one pick for a kid, if at all possible, and keep that pick on the kid. And I'm just not ready to do that for French at this point.
All right. We were going to keep going, but Neil wants us to stop, so we're going to end the show there. We appreciate everybody stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.